Chairman yields back. I now go to Ohio's Mr. Latta for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being with us today. This is a really important topic, not only for our country, but for my district. In the 5th District of Ohio, we have 86,000 manufacturing jobs. And, if we don't have affordable energy, we can't compete. And what's made this country great in the last several years is our ability to produce this natural gas that makes our companies out there being out there and make what they got to make. There's an article that was in the, editorial that was in the Wall Street Journal the other day, and I'd like to get Mr. McGowan and Mr. Rice your opinion on this. This is what it says. I'm not going to read the whole article. The White House says the pause will only affect a handful of projects that are currently seeking Energy Department permits. But this is dishonest. It will also freeze about a half dozen projects seeking FERC approvals and could halt another dozen or so that may have been permitted by previous presidents. That's because the Energy Department in December announced that projects not yet operating will have to reapply for permits. It's been 7 years since they were authorized, so projects in the works could get deep-sixed, even if they have billions of dollars committed in capital and contractual agreements with customers. Mr. McGowan, your thoughts.
Thank you very much. My understanding is that there's a shelf life on the permit of 7 years, and then you have to go back through the process, but I'll defer to Mr. Rice on that. But I think what is clear from this is that the policy is cloaked in this pause. A pause is something I do before answering your question. It's a very short period of time. This is not a pause. This is a ban, and I don't think we're going to see the pause end until after the presidential election. And so I wish they would just call it what it is. It is an imparting environmental goals into stopping a very successful industry.
Hey, Mr. Rice?
Yeah, I mean, after listening to some of these questions and some of the answers here, I mean, the question I have is, if this is just a pause, why do it doesn't impact any of the markets? Why do we even have to do this? Why do we have to send this signal that America is going to play games with the energy security of our allies? I think this is a signal that is going to chill investments. And I was in Europe last week, and we had to have many conversations to reassure our allies that America will be able to depend on America to deliver the energy security that they've relied on in the past.
Let me follow up, Mr. Rice. What happens to these companies that might be, as the Wall Street Journal said, might get deep-sixed? What happens to these companies out there and their ability in the future to produce natural gas?
Well, I'll tell you the playbook in pipelines, which I think is trying to be played here on the LNG front. Ultimately, these delays, stalls, ultimately increase the cost of these energy projects with the hope that these projects never get funded, never get built. This is exactly what happened with pipelines. And we need to prevent that from happening again, because blocking energy infrastructure in this country is the thing that has crippled our energy security, not only here in America, but preventing us from providing more energy security to our allies.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's go downstream a little bit. What happens to the companies that produce the pipe and the equipment? Do they stay in business if they don't have anybody out there drilling?
Well, without these projects, these companies do not exist. We've seen billions and billions of dollars be destroyed because of the environmental activism that have blocked pipelines, which are the safest way to move energy around this country. And so, just look at MVP as an example. It took an act of Congress to get a pipeline built in this country. Like, people ask me, am I excited about MVP getting passed by Congress? It's exciting for 1 second until you realize we're in a country where it takes an act of Congress to get a piece of energy infrastructure built in this country. Americans should be shaking their heads at that and looking for a fix.
Mr. McGowan, do you think and believe that we have enough sufficient natural gas to supply not only our domestic needs and keep prices low, while also meeting growing demand that's out there, not only in this country, but around the world?
Yes, sir, we absolutely do. And the bottom line is there are short-term price fluctuation swings as markets realign, but the trend line for our own domestic pricing is continuing downward while we are continuing to export more. There is not a direct, it's not a direct relationship, so it's not costing American consumers.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record the Wall Street Journal article from February the 4th of this year for the record.
So without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. I yield back.